everyone, Sabrina here from Scrappy Tales Crafts, and today I'll be showing you part 1 of the August Hero Arts card kit. So what came in the kit is a coffee and tea inspired stamp set. You got 2 sheets of cardstock. Well, they're not really cardstock, they're kind of flimsy, but I do think that they were actually either tea or coffee dyed because 1, the paper's really warped as if something was like poured over it. And 2, it smells like coffee. And yes, I did smell it. And I can confirm that it smells like coffee. So I do think they were actually coffee stained. Okay, and then you got a product that's sort of like glossy accents and then a puffy white embossing powder. Okay, for my first card, I wanted to use this coffee glass that to me looked like a margarita drink. So that's what I'm going to make. I'm going to make a margarita inspired card. So I'm going to first stamp 2 of those glasses out in Memento and color them with my B01 markers and B000. I colored the bottom and the top of the glass, but not the inside. I'm going to do something different with the inside. But first I'm going to cut right onto the black edge of the stamp, and I'm also going to snip off the handle of that glass so it looks more like a drink glass. And then I'm going to go over the edges with my black marker. And then I wanted the insides of these cut out, so I poked a hole with my poke tool just so I can get my scissors in there, and I don't go right up to the black line. I leave a little bit of white space showing, but I do cut out most of the inside of both glasses. And then just to clean up those edges, I do go in with my black marker again and fill the insides in. Okay, and then I wanted a green glass, so I'll use a few different Copic markers and color that in. And for the other glass, I'm going to color that pink. Speaking of pink, I no longer have my pink craft mat. I finally got a hold of one of these glass mats. I've been wanting one for about 5 months now, and they've just been back ordered or really overpriced. So, funny story, a few months ago I went to the Stamp Fest here in Florida, and Tim Holtz was there with all of his mats. So everyone at that show had a glass mat in their hands, and I couldn't buy one because about a month prior to going to the show, I had pre-ordered one on a website and I used a gift card on it. So I didn't want to cancel the order, but it was so hard seeing the mat I've been wanting for months be right in my face, and I couldn't get it. But it's okay now. About a month later, I ended up getting mine in the mail, and I'm really happy with it. It's so easy to clean up messes and definitely worth the wait. So what I did there was I put some acetate behind the margarita glasses, and then I spared you the suffering of me putting on foam tape behind those glasses. And so now what I'm doing is I'm taking pink and green papers, and I'm going to use those to back my shakers. And I decided to put the backings on the opposite glass, so the pink backing will go on the green glass, and the green backing will go on the pink glass. And so now I'm putting in some red prills, or I guess seed beads, into the pink glass, and then I'll put the green backing on, and it shakes really well. I love the sound of seed beads in shaker cards. I always try to incorporate them in shaker cards just because of that sound, and I will turn up the mic, or I guess turn on the audio so you can hear the 2 shakers shake. I just love that sound. They sound like maracas. Okay, so now that those are done, I'm going to move on to my card panel. So I have a yellow strip of polka dot paper. I'm not sure where I cut it at. I just kind of eyeballed it. And then I took a ribbon that came from another Hero Arts kit and tied a bow off to the right side. And then I cut a green scallop from my stash and also a white circle from my stash, and just layered those 2 on top. The pink paper is the same paper I used inside the margarita glass. And then same with that green scallop. I wanted to just tie all the colors in together. Such a bright card. I like how it turned out. Okay, so for some finishing touches, I decided to add a yellow lemon on the pink glass, and then I'll add a lime to the green, just so that they look more like margaritas. I thought about using an umbrella, but it would have probably been smushed in the mail, so I opted for the lemon and the lime. And then for the sentiment, I chose World's Best Friend. I stamped it twice because I didn't like the first impression. And then I'm just going to cut, using my scissors, cut right around it. And then I will place the sentiment right over the middle of the bow. So at first I just glued it straight on the bow, but I thought that I should put some foam tape so that it won't break off in the mail. And that will complete card number 1 after I mount it onto my white card base. And here's a photo of the completed card. For card number 2, I wanted to create a holiday card because that was the first thing I thought of when I saw the release of this kit. So for this panel, I did some basic stamping. I first stamped out the whipped cream. I placed a sticky note mask over the top of that. Then I stamped the saucer and the teacup, placed a mask over that, and stamped the 2 mugs on either side. Now that's pretty simple, right? 2 steps. Well, it took me about 4 tries to figure that out. I just can't see things 3-dimensionally. I don't know how to see things in the forefront and things in the after front. I don't know what I don't know what the second term is called, but I just can't see things 3-dimensionally. So I saved you the suffering of that also. But I will show you the Copic coloring. For this mug, I wanted a deep Christmassy red. So my darkest tone is R85, mid-tone R35, and then this last color is R24, which is more of like a tomatoey red. So I did have to work it in to match the other colors. But Copics are wonderful because you can really blend any colors together as long as you keep working at it. Once there's a lot of ink on the paper, it just starts to blend. So I never really follow the rules of like trying to stick with combinations that have the same first number. I don't follow my hex chart even though I have one. As long as you have, you obviously don't want to blend a brown marker with a yellow marker, but you could really blend any colors as long as they're in the same family. So that's what I did for this card. This is going to be a white mug, and I'm always so nervous coloring white because it never looks white until you see the whole thing. But as you're coloring it, you're like, this looks gray, But I love how the white one. I colored this mug and the whipped cream with some warm gray markers. And I always start with my darkest, blend with my mid-tone, and then I go over the whole thing with my lightest marker. And for the most part, that will give you a really pretty blend. Sometimes you have to go back, but most of the time you don't. For the saucer, I decided to color it in some olive green tones. And that will complete the coloring. Okay, I'm going to take a mustache from my stash and cut that. Mustache from my stash. Wow, that took a while to register, but that's funny. I cut it out with some white. I'm going to glue it down onto my red mug. So I'm going to make a Santa mug. All these different coffee cups are going to have faces, which I thought would be super cute because I saw the Google Eyes on my desk. And I'm making Halloween cards nonstop, so Google Eyes are a requirement in my craft room for Halloween cards. So when I saw those, I was like, I have to put faces on these mugs. So the red one will be Santa. This mug will be, I guess, Frosty the Snowman. And so I glued down some eyes. And then these are some black gems I have in my stash. And I'm just kind of arranging them into a smile. And then I made a teeny tiny carrot nose. I had to move his eyes up a little bit. And I moved his eyes off to the side to give him a little bit of character. I thought that was cute. And then my middle mug is going to be Rudolph. So I gave him a bright red gem. And here's where I thought I was an artist and I drew my own antlers, but they ended up looking like twigs. So I had a moment of panic because at this point I had spent 30 minutes coloring. But I dug through my stash and I found a reindeer die. So I cut that out and I glued it right over my twig antlers. And for the most part, it covers it. You can still kind of see it, but unless I didn't tell you what happened, you wouldn't have known. And I think if I wouldn't have drawn my own antlers, I would have maybe moved the antlers into the whipped cream. I think that would be really cute. So you can do that if you want. What I'm doing now is figuring out which papers I want to use. I decide on the black because I really like the black smoke that I put coming out of the mugs and I wanted to tie that in. So I chose some black and some green pattern paper I had from my stash. I'm going to trim that down. And you can keep making mugs. You can probably fit another one in, and I don't know what character you would use. Leave me a comment telling me which character you would add to this scene, or characters. I think you could add 2 mugs into this. Maybe an elf? I don't know. What I'm doing now is I'm taping down some black paper onto my card base, and then I will adhere my card panel right on top with some fun foam. And that's going to complete card number 2. For card number 3, I wanted to create another Christmas card. So I'm taking these cups and I'm going to distress the edges of them with some vintage photo. I decided to cut them and distress them first because I knew I was going to go over them with VersaFine and I didn't want to smear the ink. I'm also going to distress my card panel. This is the same cardstock that I used for my last card. They're going to coordinate really well, so I'm going to sell them as a pair. And then I'm going to distress my table. I know it doesn't look like a table. I hand did this myself, no die. Going old school. All I did was I had a brown rectangle and I cut from either side to make the legs of the table. I hope I explained that right. It looks pretty simple. It didn't take me that much effort to come up with. But I still think it didn't look like a table. So I went and embossed it with some wood grain. And then I still thought it didn't look like a table. So I cut a gold scallop, cut it right in half. And these are going to be my tablecloths. And I think that once you add the mugs on top, it does look like a table. So I'm going to trim off the excess. Once that's done, I will go ahead and stamp out my mugs. So this mug I'm going to stamp with VersaFine, and then I will stamp a cup of joy in the center. I thought that was really cute. I always associate joy with Christmas, so I had to pick this sentiment. And I am using removable adhesive so that I can stamp all of my images out at once. Now, it's not completely centered, but I think it looks okay. Alright, now all of my mugs are stamped. I'm going to adhere my table. And then just arrange all of my different mugs. This one I stamped out twice because I wanted a striped mug and a red saucer. So I'm just going to paper piece those on top of each other. And this one I wanted to have that black heart, so I stamped that. Now I'm just arranging my mugs. I realized I had a lot of red going on, so I was trying to separate them as best I could. Okay, I finally committed. I'm going to glue everything down now. And I think it would be cute if you popped up some of these. I don't know why I didn't do that, but... Okay, and then I thought it was still missing something, so I decided to stamp out, I think it's sending you a latte love. I'm not sure. And then I also stamped out the smoke coming out of that last mug with some VersaFine ink. And then I'm going to gold heat emboss the sentiment. And once I heat set that, I really liked the look. And I wanted to include another gold foiled element. So luckily that steam coming out of the cup was still, the ink was still wet. So I just went over it with the gold embossing powder and heat set that. So now I guess there's that element of three. There's the gold smoke, the gold tablecloth, and the gold sentiment. So now I covered my whole card base with black paper, and then I will add some fun foam behind my panel and glue that onto my black card base. And then I had an extra coffee cup which I colored a little too brown, but I think it would look cute inside the card or on the envelope. But I didn't add it because I do sell my cards and I prefer the inside to be blank. So here's a picture. Moving on to card number 4, I really liked the vintage look that I got with my last card, so I'm going to continue that with card number 4 and card 5. So what I'm doing now is I cut this doily out of a Heartfelt Creations die I had in my stash. I then cut out a circle from the paper that came in the kit. It has the foam pattern on it. So I cut that out of a circle I had in my stash, and then I die cut this coffee from above, I guess. And I'm going to use the puffy white embossing powder. I wanted to see how that would look. So here I'm heat setting it. You can't really tell in the video, but once I start coloring it, you will see that it is puffy. Okay, and at first I thought I would just put some ink over it and see if it would resist. It did resist, but I don't know. The ink sort of still stuck to it. So I went in with my Copics, and it was covering up some of the embossing powder, so I ended up stamping right over it. It was pretty easy to line up, and then I will just add more embossing powder, and that's going to whiten the image up more. And this is a more chunky powder, so you might want to heat it from below. Some of mine was flying away when I heated it up. Okay, then I wanted a dark brown mug. I guess brown is the theme here. I guess these could all be really cute fall cards. Okay, and the platter is going to be sort of like a tan color, and that's how it's all going to be layered up. So I'm going to use the paper that came in the kit as my card panel, and I wanted to use that brown ribbon that came in the kit, so I'm cutting it down. I'm going to use some Scotch tape to adhere it from the back. And I really enjoyed this kit. At first I was kind of stuck on what to do, but as I made more cards, I started to get more ideas. And since the coffee cups are plain, you can really color them any way you want. You can paper piece them with different pattern papers that cater to a certain holiday. You'll see in the next video, I somehow created Halloween cards because I am on the Halloween mode right now. What I'm doing now is I'm just going to adhere a brown bow that I created, and then I'll glue down the doily flat, then I'll pop up the foam circle, and then I'll pop up my latte. So I really like this kit, and guys, I am not a coffee person. I love the smell. I can't stand the taste of coffee though. But so many people love coffee, so I'm really happy I got this kit. I'm sorry I didn't do a video last month. I just wasn't inspired by last month's kit. And I made a few cards with it, and it wasn't my style. I wasn't really enjoying it. So maybe I'll come back to it and make a video, but for now, I'm just going to move on and show the August kit because I really liked it. So like I said in the beginning of this video, the paper was really warped. So I used a lot of tape, and then I'm going to glue that straight down onto my card base. And that's going to complete card number 4. Super cute. That was a pretty quick card to make. Here I'm trying to pull it up because it was a little bit crooked, but that paper will rip. That's some dainty paper, so once it's down, it's down. Here's a close-up of the card. And for card number 5, I wanted to create another vintage card. So I'm going to take the teacup and saucer stamp, and I'm going to stamp that out onto several shades of brown paper. I wanted to create sort of like an ombre, and I'm going to stamp these teacups on top of each other. So I also stamped the whipped cream on some white paper, and then this mug on some cream paper. And then I have to fussy cut all of these right onto the line because I want to stack these inside of each other. So I wanted them to be right on the line. And then again, I go in with my black marker. Okay, so now that they're all cut, I have to cut little slits inside the cup. So I went in with my pokey tool and then in with my scissors, and I just cut a slit. I would recommend doing this with an X-Acto knife. I don't have one, so I had to make do with just my scissors. So once I had a big enough slit, I can stack my cups on top of each other. And so some of them I made crooked, some of them straight, just to make them look kind of whimsical. At first I thought I wanted 5 cups, you know, the rule of odds. You hear that all the time. I don't know if I necessarily believe that. I think maybe it's just a psychological thing, but I personally liked it better with just 4 cups. So I will layer the last mug on top of the darkest saucer, so there will be a darker saucer and a lighter mug on top. Okay, here I'm just kind of trying to get all these slits in so that I can easily place each mug inside the next. Okay, and then here's where I decide to just use 4 mugs. And then I will stack them all on top. I wanted that smallest mug at the top with the whipped cream. I thought that would be cute. And you can keep going with those mugs. You can make them as tall as that strip I had. But I decided not to. And then here I wanted to use all those sentiments, so I stamped one on every single mug. And oddly enough, some of those sentiments like fit perfectly onto those crooked mugs. So this one says, but first coffee. The next one says, I think Java Junkie. Yes. And then the one above that is going to say you're sweet. And the one at the top will say espresso yourself. And so it kind of says a whole sentiment. Espresso yourself, you're sweet, Java junkie, but first coffee. I thought that was really cute. I love that you can put little sentiments into the cups. I'm glad that they made the cups plain, like I said, so you can really do anything with them. Here I'm aligning some of that vintage paper up onto some brown. I wanted to matte it. And then I'm going to place it onto that same paper. But I wanted to break it up so that this strip would pop out more, so that's why I used the brown. Okay, then I'm going to rearrange my coffee mugs. And then I will glue them all down using my art glitter glue. I'm going to place some blocks on there so that it can dry. And then I made another brown bow with the ribbon that came in the kit. Just going to glue that right on top of that strip, and then I'm going to pop the whole strip up with some foam tape. I get my foam tape from Uline. It's super cheap, but you have to deal with the ultra stickiness, and you have to use your craft pick to peel off the backing. But guys, you get what you pay for. I think it's a good deal. So I think I paid like $8, and you get a pretty big roll. Again, it's from Uline if anyone is interested. I have gotten questions about it before. So now I'm going to mat my entire card base with some brown paper. And that will complete card number 5. I'm going to show you all the cards that we made today. And stay tuned for part 2. I think I will have it up by the end of this week. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe if you haven't yet already. Please leave me comments. I love to read them and respond. Let me know which was your favorite card. I think my favorite is the vintage Christmas card, but all of them are pretty cute. So thanks again for watching. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!